Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started here in just a minute or two as people trickle in. We're very excited to be having this conversation with you today, a very important conversation. We've got the big guns here to lead us through it. So we'll go ahead and get started in a minute. So make yourselves comfortable and we'll begin shortly. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us for this conversation here today on how to fight data centers. It is a very timely, important topic that we want to support women and Americans through. First, a few introductions. I'm Abby Nydam, the founder and CEO of SAM, the support platform for women. I'm joined here by Maggie Doucette, one of our amazing experts on SAM. She specializes in civic engagement and public policy. Hi, Maggie. Welcome.
Hi, nice to be here.
Thanks for joining us. A little bit about SAM. We offer one-to-one support for life's difficult moments that women often have to endure and navigate alone. Things like grief, career, elder care, relationships, and more. We are all human. We do not use AI on SAM. We have over 75 experts providing one-to-one advice and counsel for women. One such expert is Maggie, and she is here today to talk to us about data centers and how we can all be involved from a civic point of view. Okay, so you might be wondering, what does a support platform for women and data centers have in common? Well, when life is hard for Americans, it's harder for American women. And so we're pretty pissed off about it from that side. We're also pissed off for a few different reasons, namely, it's our land, our homes, our birthright, our community. Our natural resources are, in fact, limited. We deserve clean air, water, peace, and quiet. The people behind these projects and the interests of these individuals do not live near them. Uh, they're getting very smart. The planners, the corporations, the tech companies who are building these are hiding or disguising what they are doing in communities, which is unfair and unconstitutional. And let's be honest, but life is hard enough without any of these in our backyard. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Maggie, and she's going to talk us through how we can get involved and a little bit about her experience and what she's seeing right now. Maggie, I'll turn it to you.
Great, thank you. So the most important thing I want to get across, and it's the one thing that you take away from this, it's that you are not powerless. I think nowadays we think of a big corporation coming in to set up a data center in our community and having enormous wealth and enormous connections and lawyers and it can seem very overwhelming and it can feel like there's nothing that you can really do. And I'm here to explain to you that that is not the case. And in fact, what I found in this issue is that people often have a lot more success by understanding the process of their town or their like local municipality, and it's actually way more effective than having 50 loud protesters. And it's because the government process is complex and people don't engage with things that they don't understand. So it's my job, sort of as a civic engagement consultant, to help people navigate that process. Next slide. So the first thing I tell people who are interested in this or are wondering if this is happening in their town is to orient yourself by finding out where your community is in the process. It's one of the most important parts because it's going to determine how you can fight back. So the first part is the suspected, and I call this the policy level. So this is when you haven't had an announcement yet. There's nothing really in the newspaper, but you maybe are noticing zoning changes, or there's a utility expansion that's happening, or your master plan is being updated. And the next level is the proposed. So that's like when you hear about the announcement. There's a date for a ribbon cutting. There's maybe hearing schedules or plans are filed. Um, and then the last is the permit level, which is like basically they're breaking ground. And the most important thing to understand is that it doesn't matter what stage your community is in the process, there are levers to pull. But you do have to understand where you are in order to pull the right levers. So, for example, if you're in the construction level stage and they're breaking ground, you're not going to do much by organizing people to show up at a council meeting. You're going to be way more effective getting them on the compliance stuff. So making sure that they have all their permits filed, making sure that they've gone through the proper, state level checks like air quality control and gotten their environmental permits. There was actually an example in, I think it was Prince George's County, Virginia, where they got all the way through to the break ground stage, but then realized they hadn't noticed the meetings properly, which is like a very small error, but government works on process. So they had to stop the project. So these are like little things that you can do. And it depends on which stage you're at. Okay, so 5 things that you can do today. You can, and I don't want to say this as in take one, so take your town and educate yourself. So figure out what you can about your local government, how it operates, what kind of, I say follow the resources. So look at water and utilities and land. Then identify a few people, maybe someone on the zoning board, maybe someone on your town council, maybe someone at the county or state level. Then you build your SEAL team, which is actually something we're going to get into in a minute. So I'll hold off on that. But it's basically your core group of people who are going to be helping you out. Then you show up. This is like the most important part, but it's also the part you're expecting. So this is showing up to hearings, or if the issue is big enough so there's been protests, or even just like taking meetings with people on staff members in the zoning office, or that sort of thing. And then spreading the word, which is telling your neighbors, explaining to your friends, or what's going on, maybe posting things on Facebook or writing an op-ed for your local paper. Okay, so building your SEAL team. And this is sort of the I think the fun part, but it's what's so interesting about these sort of hyper local data center projects is you're often most effective when you're working as a smaller team, as opposed to a big sort of protest that dies out. And I say that not because protests that are big aren't effective for some things, but when it comes to like land use and zoning laws and sort of the nuance of government, it's easier just to go in with like a strike team. So I talk about how you can build your team and the types of people you have. So maybe you have 5 people in your community that one is I broke it into, so writer, so that's the person that's going to draft your public comments or write your op-eds. Your researcher, that's going to be the person maybe that files the records requests or looks up the zoning laws. You're going to have your monitor, and that's your person that tracks everything, looks at agendas, meeting schedules, deadlines, that sort of thing. Your diplomat is going to be the person that maybe meets with some officials or different environmental groups or different community groups about working together. And then your broadcaster, which is your social media guru, or your person that has TikTok account, who can get the message out. Oh, great. Yes. So Any questions?
I have some questions.
Yes,
Maggie,
Abby.
we've talked a lot about your experience, your personal experience going through this in your own community. Do you want to share a little bit about that and what you achieved through that process?
Sure. And it's a similar it's a similar issue, but it's not data centers. But we had a it was announced at one of our council meetings that there was going to be a ferry in my town. And as excited as we were about this, I thought to myself, I don't know if they gone through the proper zoning for that? Have they done everything they need to do? Because normally, I mean, I've never heard of a ferry on the Jersey Shore, which is where I'm from, showing up 30 days after it's announced. And I used to commute on the ferry to New York City. So like I'm not against it. And it turned out, as I had dug into it, that they hadn't like done the proper zoning checks. They hadn't got the right EPA permits. They didn't have ADA compliance, which was a huge problem. They hadn't gone to our planning board. So I rallied a couple of people together who felt, you know, very strongly about it. A few of them were residents who lived on the street where this was going to be happening. And we wrote a couple letters, had a couple meetings, and were able to, I don't want to say stop the ferry because it's not, force them to go through the proper channels, which is all we needed. And it was a really good and sort of bonding experience for a lot of people in our town because we saw how effective we are. And I think at the local level right now, that's where you have the most power. And when it comes to these data centers, that is where you're going to be the most effective.
And we've seen success across the country, right? Very
Yes.
enraged, rightly so, informed, well-prepared citizens who are standing up to these corporations. And I want to turn us back to this slide that you spoke to a little bit. Where do you see the most stress across your work or within the conversation? And really kind of like where is the best place to start showing up? At what level, what part of this process is a good place?
So yeah, and it is important. Not all are as easy or equal. The best place that you could show up would be the suspected. But to be fair, that's not always easy to spot because it usually means there hasn't been an announcement. But that's why you can be proactive. I'm assuming people that would be at this webinar are people that are interested. So if you're worried about like a center coming, the first thing, that's great. One, because it means you're on the suspected stage and you can begin seeing what your town zoning looks like. Is it even possible? You might even find out, oh, our town already passed an ordinance that says they can't build them here. And then that's great. And that's a relief. So that's sort of, I think, the best place to be. But there are levers at either part. You just have to know which ones to push. And it is like, there are actually some states, I think, where if you have like an economic development commission, it's a lot harder. So if you are a state that has you has an economic development commission, maybe a regional one or a county one, it's so important because they actually are finding out that a lot of those are making members of the elected officials like sign NDAs about their project before they build it, which means they can't tell their constituents. Like legally, they're not allowed to. And so that kind of thing is a big deal. There are some states, I think, that are trying to ban them right now, so that they can't do that. But that's something, certainly if you have like an economic development and you're in the suspected, that would be some of the first step. But proposed is probably where you want to organize the most, where you want to put stuff on social media, get people down to the town council meetings, your hearings. And then the moving forward is going to be where you more like state level, getting them to step in because they don't have the proper permits, that sort of thing.
And I just love this framing of building your SEAL team. In my neighborhood, when an issue pops up and a lot of people are concerned, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen.
Yes.
And and what this does, right, is it allows a small team to be really efficient and well organized. And and talk to us about this five rules, one goal. Maybe it's one thing a week. Like, how do you organize, or how do you decide what the first thing to do each week is across all of these roles? Is everyone doing something every week? Is it a huge time commitment? Talk us through that a little bit.
Right. So the first thing you would do is you would learn, you would educate. So that's like the first step in our other process. So the SEAL team can get together. You would follow that. What is the issue? Where are we in the process? Where do we stand? What's happening? Then you're going to have maybe the next week your researcher is going to file some records requests, while at the same time your monitor is looking up all the agendas for maybe the water utility meetings, and your broadcaster is sort of updating people on social media. Your diplomat is reaching out to environmental groups and seeing what they say about it, and your writer is writing an op-ed. So you could all be doing different things the same week that have to do with something. Maybe there's like a meeting coming up or a rally coming up, and so you would have your researcher would be reading, researching the meeting items, and the monitor would be looking up for when it's on the schedule, and your broadcaster would be telling people to come to the meeting, and your diplomat would be reaching out to the elected officials beforehand saying, I hope you'll cover this topic, or I have some questions about this. And then your writer is writing up a summary of the meeting.
Great. I mean, it's such a smart way and also a great way to build community. And when we talk about the SEAL team and organizing, we don't mean this to be another job, right? It's like I think that's
Right.
something for me, it feels daunting in 2026 to want to get involved because of everything else we have to do.
Right. And that's sort of the beauty of this. And to be honest, like the way this sort of works is you can pick whichever of those interests you. So you're sort of doing something that you already love. Like I tend to be the writer in my group. So I like to write. So it's something that I do when I'm in my SEAL team. You might have somebody who's just like always on social media and they are all already going to be on there. So it doesn't have to become like a full-time job. You're all sort of doing, what you're good at. And if there's a position in here that nobody wants to do, but maybe there's something else that you want to add, that's fine too. But the idea is for it to not to become a chore.
Right, right. And the antidote to anxiety about around social issues is action. And we know this to be
Right.
true, and getting involved in any small way that you can is really important, even if it's an hour a week to write an email to an elected official or do research and talk about it on social media. All of that is valid and really important to do. It takes many
Absolutely.
acts, right? It takes many,
Right.
it's a chorus. It's not just one person who needs to take the lead. So okay, so how do we work with you, Maggie, moving forward on SAM? We want to make this a really accessible experience for communities who might be struggling with this issue. And there are many communities who are struggling with this very issue, as we know.
Yes, it's nationwide.
It's nationwide and it's bipartisan. I made a joke today on social media. I said data centers and Costco $1.50 hot dog and soda combo are the two things that Americans can
I love
really
that.
agree on.
Absolutely.
Love a $1.50 hot dog and soda at Costco. Hate a data center. Think they're awful. So following this call, if you weren't able to join us, or maybe you're on, we will be sharing this recording. We'll also be sending you some helpful templates and tools, activities to kind of think through how you want to get involved, how you identify who's who in your community at many different levels. This is something that we also have experienced in our work, is that oftentimes we don't know who's running the power authority or who's
Yes.
signing the paperwork at the commissioner's office. We don't know, and it's important if we research that, understand who's who, write it down. So we have
And
a
it's also
list.
good to know that, just to know that, because I'll tell you something, it can be handy to understand like who to call, when your tax bill comes in or your, water problems. So yeah, it's helpful for this too.
And let's keep in mind that many people that you write down on this who's who activity work for you.
Yes,
They
they
are
do.
public servants. They took an oath of office to protect and serve the American people. And so they are, in fact, employed by all of us. So let us keep that in mind.
Yes.
So, three ways to work with Maggie moving forward here. We have a one-to-one personalized session with Maggie. And because we know the sensitivity and the urgency of this issue, we are doing a pay what you can rate.
Yes.
And thank you to Maggie for working with us on that. We're
Absolutely. I love
also
that idea.
we're also doing some small group sessions for a $35 for an hour. You can come and talk to Maggie, bring what's happening in your community. She'll educate a little bit on a specific issue or topic within this big kind of problem that we're facing, and open it up for some on-the-spot Q&A. And then, of course, we will continue these sessions so you're able to purchase a pack of those moving forward if you so choose. It's really just good to have accountability, to keep the momentum, to have someone in your corner who knows how this all works. And Maggie is that woman. And she is up for
Thank
the
you.
job. So thank you all for joining us here today. We will be in touch. We're always open on SAM. We are sam.co. You can work with Maggie or any of our 75 experts across a variety of issues. And let's get involved. Let's be tough. Let's be smart. Let's be organized. And let's just say no to these things in our backyards. Thank you, Maggie, so much for being here and for
Thank you.
sharing your insight and your time. And we'll see you all on SAM.